The first question is about, under our theme, mission and older people, is about the words older people. I want you to tell us, from your particular perspective and role, what this description means to you.
Older people, when I think of what does older people mean, I think of two words, and that would be wisdom and experience. Unfortunately, the societal restrictions that are placed upon our desire, within this country particularly, to label people means that they are the only group of people who have a negative connotation to that phrase. Because when you describe what an adult is, it just sort of flows, doesn't it? You don't think of something which is attached to age. So automatically when you think of an older person, you think about ageing, as Ian has said, and you think about the ailments that come with ageing. And some people think of dementia, but dementia is not a normal part of ageing. When we think about an older person, when we think about the wisdom and we think about the experience, unfortunately, we classify within social care older people as a group of people who will require a certain degree of support, a certain degree of nurturing and encouragement, which can often have a patronising and condescending connotation, which contradicts exactly what I said at the beginning about that wisdom and experience, because it is to the older person where we invariably go to have the younger skill and knowledge base topped up and enhanced. But unfortunately, within a social care environment, it is looking towards what people cannot do. It looks towards failings, and therefore services that are provided don't look towards potential, and they don't look towards fulfilment. And when we design services and when we design new initiatives, whether they are church initiatives or whether they're social care initiatives or initiatives in our society, we don't really think about the older person joining that as someone who will be a long-term member of a group who can bring that experience and wisdom and something new. And as we move through the questions, I'll speak a bit more about that.
Excellent.
That's what I would think.
From your perspective and role, what does mission mean when you put it alongside the words older people? Would you like to launch us on in that?
For me, mission with older people and the connotation of my role is about supporting the most vulnerable people in Scotland where ageing and the negative connotations of ageing have created a very vulnerable situation for an individual where security is an absolute desire from the family's perspective as well as the individual themselves. So the mission for me would be about supporting the most vulnerable people at any point in their life and in their journey. As people get older and as some of the more common diseases and ailments that we know about affect them, that feeling of a person and being a person can often be stripped back, and we lose an awful lot of who that person is very quickly because we like to stick labels on. So if we see a person who has dementia, the person sometimes stops being Alan or Neil or Maureen. We see a person with dementia, and then we're desperately keen to find out where their progress is in that disease. So I'm not now Alan, I'm now Alan with a moderate degree of dementia. And then I'm now Alan with a moderate degree of dementia, and there will be now a number of judgments placed against me. And that will be that you're all bound to have failing memory, you're probably going to have difficulty with some communication, and your memory impairment is such that your problem solving ability is going to be affected. We don't do that if I'm Alan and I have a broken leg. We say, this will take several weeks to heal and plaster, and then you will be who you are. But we rush around making judgments because of labels with older people, which really detracts from their ability to be a person and be a person who's continuing to try and fulfill their potential. And for me, the mission in older people is about a witness for me as a Christian to be able to try and help that person to remain the person who they are and to continue that journey of life that they're on, and to try and help them to achieve some of these goals that they've set themselves that they may feel they will never achieve. So really, that's I think what mission is for older people is. It's about trying to retain the person, trying to retain and applaud and commend and recognise the experience. How often we have examples in Crossreach of our interactions with schools, and schools who are now recognising the experience and wisdom of older person, whether they have dementia or not, and are contacting Crossreach to ask, would you engage with our history programme? So when we're now talking about the world wars, or we're now talking about different aspects of history, such as, it could be anything, Scottish culture, they are now asking questions, would any of the residents in the care home mind coming to school and being part of this programme? And we've got some examples of that now, where I think our mission is absolutely about helping younger people in society, and people who, the adult group, who never seem to actually have any kind of age definition attached to them, to try and help to see that person can still contribute to the education of our young people and to help young people fulfil their potential. So I think our mission from my perspective is to help the person to continue to realise the potential, to help society and to help community to recognise the contribution that person can still make, and to break down the barriers within society about discrimination and our desire as a group of human beings within society to love to label something and give something a name.
Thinking of where you come from this morning, what does you as a parish minister, what do others in their role distinctly offer so that people would look to you in terms of mission and older people?
I think there are a few challenges here, I think, for the church, and a few challenges for us all in the panel and here today. I think one of the initial challenges is what's already been said about average age of church being 62, if I've picked that up correct. And
Just in Glasgow.
Yeah. If that's what we constitute as an older person, and if we are a church creating a mission to do God's work here on earth in a variety of different guises, then if the church is a group of people in the community, working actively in the community, then surely we have to look at that and say we have to use the strength of what's within the church. So why do we as a church continually look outside to try and find skill, expertise, support and advice and information when it's sometimes staring us in the face? And we sometimes then go around quite a interesting journey, which can take a very long time to reap any fruit and to really have a meaningful impact on communities and on individuals. And what I'd like to say in terms of what Crossreach can offer is that Crossreach is the church. It's the church's social care arm. It has been ministering and providing care and support for about 145 years. And although I don't clearly have 145 years experience, and certainly may look like I have, but to give a few examples of how Crossreach are carrying out the mission of the church and connecting with the church and bringing it back into the circle. We're connecting with the Guild in a remarkably meaningful way through our Heart for Art service, which has been a true journey of involvement and a real attack on the stigma which surrounds the diagnosis of dementia, from an unashamedly non-medical model and from a very overtly clear model that this is a church-operated service. It runs from within a church. It does not run from a medical centre nor a health centre. It doesn't run from a care home. So the stigmas and labels are gone straight away. If the church is the community and people come into a church hall, you don't say, there's Alistair with dementia, or there's Alistair with a learning disability, or there's John who's got issues with support because his wife's dying and he's away to get some support. You just see people going to the church, and church halls and churches are used for a variety of different community uses now. So the Heart for Art group has been a remarkable support to people and a remarkable support in getting that mission out. Because what we've done is not just supported people with dementia. We have given what Ian was saying about looking at older people and using the expertise. There are many guild members, now volunteers in the Heart for Art, who have been trained by Crossreach on a certain level of dementia understanding and awareness, which is giving confidence. We have, through that process, enabled a number of training sessions to take place and information sessions about our other work and our wider work, which enables people to make that connection at night. So I'll give you one particular example of a gentleman who had stopped going to church and found out about Heart for Art. And he found out about Heart for Art from a guild member who found out about Heart for Art from a talk from Crossreach and went along and became a volunteer. And what we tried to get the message out is a creative art group which lasts for 2 hours on a Tuesday afternoon, for example. But this particular gentleman is isolated and lonely in his own home and had stopped going to church and wasn't being visited from church. He was on the roll, but he wasn't getting any support. Through this church being active, Crossreach being active in the middle of that, the guild being active in the middle of that, this gentleman now receives 2 and 3 visits a week and has now started reconnecting and coming back to church. Now, what does he need to get to church? He might need a little support with transport, but how many people come to church and go in the same car together, irrespective of what age they are or ailment they have? It's a social thing where they'll come together before church, they'll come and they might go for lunch afterwards together or continue some of the kind of debate about what they've heard that morning and worship. So that's one of the kind of things I'd like to say. The second is about that whole component about if we use what we have in front of us and in among us, then the spiritual nature and the values that Maureen spoke about are real. So the mission is real. If you bring someone in externally to try and understand the mission and try and understand what it is actually all about, you may get the educational component, but you might not necessarily be able to attach that to the values and ethos and the way in which the church wants to expand that work. And I think that's really particularly important. So Crossreach can offer that, and we do have a website, and it's crossreach.org.uk, and we do use social media as well, and we do have connections across most local authorities in Scotland and many churches within Scotland. But I think it's really important to think about the isolated older person at home and not just the person who's receiving care, the person who can't get to church but would like to get to church, the person who has no friends and no relationships that they can connect with. And we can talk about how we can find out more about palliative care or about dementia or any of these type of things, but what are we doing to connect with these people who may have been part of church before? And I think, Ian, you mentioned about youth work, and youth work in church is incredible. The youth assemblies are remarkable, absolutely remarkable. But older people, what I said at the beginning, wisdom, experience, and so much more to give to the church, and how to bring the church through some of the challenges it faces.
What support do you look to from others to help you to be part of mission and older people?
The reality is that what kind of support would we like to see? We would like to see people adopting Crossreach and adopting Crossreach as the expert in social care. The church is expert in social care who can support people at different stages of their journey from the moment they're born to the point where they die. And for older people, we can certainly be providing that level of support. And it's just as Tom has said about initiatives that churches want to get off the ground. We've supported a number of churches to get a range of initiatives off the ground, and we want to be facing the church and involved with the church and engaging with the church, getting alongside different churches who have ideas. And when we are asked for advice and support, we're obviously very, very keen to provide that support. But I think it's that whole, people are saying, collaboration and support, but not looking beyond what's actually staring you in the face and is in front of you, and using the resource which is on our doorstep.
What is the one message, perhaps out of what we've said or you've just been saying I've really been wanting to say this for an awful long time, that you would like to say?
I would like the church to understand the skill base within which it has within congregations and within each of the councils, and to look within to reach out